Seeing a picture of a zendo during meditation, it might look like everyone is doing the same thing. Yet the experience of each sitter is unique. That said, we tend to start out a period of meditation with a mind full of thoughts that gradually decrease in number until the mind is clearer, if not much clearer, towards the end. Judging that success is based on having such a lessening of thoughts, beginners who find that they still have many thoughts when the bell rings to finish sitting may decide that they are not just good at meditation and consider giving up on it. However, it doesn't matter even if one's zazen is full of thoughts throughout, for while we should be aware of our thoughts, we are not trying to control them per se. Maybe a more common excuse for not doing zazen is to feel after one's initial period of it that it has merely made one's mind slightly calmer. Whether or not someone gives meditation a chance could also be based on the immediate choice that his or her sensation skandha makes between liking something or not liking something, or not caring about something. The above reasoning for why not to sit reflects some misunderstanding of what we are doing during zazen. Our mind does not change over time, but not because we have intentionally changed it. Pardon me, I go backwards in that one. I added a whole complete misunderstanding here. Our mind does change over time, but not because we have intentionally changed it, but because it is naturally clear without thoughts in it. Indeed, the two basic states during zazen, with thoughts and without thoughts, are of equal value. For in each moment we are not making judgments or trying to do anything without paying attention, beyond paying attention. Being aware of our breaths is what matters then. And if we are counting them and a thought gets in the way, we only reset the count back to 1. This just being where we are is similar to whatever is, is. When sitting, we do notice soon, however, how easily thoughts can take us away from what we are doing. In everyday life, we usually pay attention to our thoughts, for among other things, they tell us who we are to ourselves. But that doesn't mean that we should try to get rid of thinking when meditating. Being a part of us, they have as much right to be there as our fingers and toes do, although the latter doesn't get nearly as much attention. While watching our breaths during zazen, now and again we check our posture. But beyond that, other parts of our body gets ignored, or at least until things like backs or knees begin to complain. Then thoughts may quickly convey to us that it would be better to move. We have to decide each time whether to listen to them about this. But the best thing to do with our thoughts when sitting, of course, is to let them pass through our mind and disappear on their own. While they certainly can be disruptive, they are not an enemy either. And when we sit, we let thoughts be. It's a different matter in ordinary life, where our thoughts won't let us be alone, and can cause us trouble. Even so, we tend to listen to them despite their being the source of our delusions. Their having such an origin delusions in thoughts leads us to think about delusions as being real, as we do with other discriminations. We are certainly suckers for thoughts. They do allow us to describe difficult things that we face in practice, and we even attempt to use them to explain what happens when meditating, as I am doing now. However, both the usefulness of thoughts and the problems they create are restricted to occurring in samsara, our usual world. Even there, thoughts will not be the things that they represent, but will always be something extra. Mostly unbeknownst to us, we live in a land of pictures mistakenly taken as being real, but actually are made up of thoughts. It is our belief in the world created by them that keeps us from being able to experience our intrinsic nature, as this will only happen when all of our thought-based delusions, having been seen as such, no longer populate our mind. Another expression of this thoughtlessness is having no self, our self itself being a product of thoughts. When we first begin to work with thoughts, or experience having no thoughts, is thus when we begin to meditate. Every time we sit, we see thoughts coming into our mind from nowhere and returning to nowhere. This is why doing zazen is so important. For in doing it, we have from the start been studying thoughts and watching how they get in the way despite not being real. It will take a while, but through sitting, we will have less and less deluded thinking. And in the end, our thoughts will be empty, our minds will be empty of the thoughts that once seemed to be in charge of our lives. We will no longer be used by them, though thinking will still be used by everyone, Buddhas included, but in the form of wisdom. It'll take work, but if we have continued to sit, it'll all work out. Thank you. Here's Jane. Here's Jane and myself. We're a small bunch today.
Indeed.
Anybody have any comments or questions? Thank you, Mike.
I'll start the ball rolling. From your talk, I get the feeling that we, of course, cannot eliminate all thoughts. That's not possible. But we can eliminate how they affect us and how much we attach to them as they walk through our brain. And I get the pressure from your talk that the main thing is we want to try and quiet the brain down, but if nothing else, at least don't get attached to those thoughts. Just let them flow through. And the minute you start hanging on to them and they start developing a story like a daydream or something, then we've lost our point, in the sense that we need to be in the moment, and even thoughts are part of that moment, and they're part of the decoration, I guess you would say. So you just got to let them flow through and not get distracted to the point that you now lose the moment and you're chasing after one thought or the other. But there's no real way of ending them, is there? It's just more of it just letting them calm down and not have an effect on you when they go through your brain while doing zazen. Am I close?
Sure, that's just about what I said. Yeah. Of course, the main point, as it were, is that just, although it may have been disguised too much, is that just sitting truly is enough. Because somehow or other, by just sitting, as time passes, our thoughts will disappear until at a certain point, there will not be any thoughts in your mind unless there was a use for them. That's a new thing I just had right then, as if there is a use for them. So your natural state will no longer be a state of being, of thoughts filling our minds, of our lives being controlled, not controlled, but that's being us. We are, we think of ourselves as thinking beings, and we act as if we are thinking beings. But there's a being of us, our so-called intrinsic nature, in which that is no longer the truth. Thoughts will always be there, but they will be very, very different.
Do we want to use that also in our day-to-day life, since life is practice? Try to use that when we're going through life and, things happen that you like or don't like, and you just don't hang on to them and just focus on what you're doing in your day-to-day life.
Yes, that's true, and also to look at your thoughts and see if they truly represent what the reality is. That's a little harder to do, of course, but when I said we are really suckers for thought, I didn't use. I've forgotten if I changed that word or not. But anyway, we are really suckers for thoughts because we so believe in them, not in their usefulness, but in the fact that they totally represent all that there is, and they don't. And moreover, they mislead us. So as people often say, you don't discover anything. You just lose things. And if you lose your delusions, you will find that's your natural state. And so slowly we work on that. Yes, Jane?
I was just going to add that as your thoughts calm down, you can start to see more clearly how you are manipulated by them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's all.
That's it.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Which in a way is what you've been saying.
Yeah. Well, I made this talk, for actually beginners as well as seasoned people like yourselves. But all we have is that are you wonderful seasoned people. So I'm very happy about that. It looks like there's no other discussion to take place today, but we are having the full moon ceremony, and so as led by Chris, so let's stop doing that. Next week's talk